Hi, today we're going to talk about solving more multi-step equations, but today we will be using fractions, so they will get a little bit more complicated. Before we start, I wanted to do a quick um, review of cross products. As you recall, when we have two equivalent fractions, we can use cross products to help solve for our missing variable. So cross products say that the products of the numerators times the opposite denominators should be equal. So 4 times x, 4x, 8 times 3 is 24. 4x equals 24, which means x equals 6. So 6 would go there. And you can see it because 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 would give you 6. Let's look at another example of cross products. 3 times 15 and 5 times x. So 5x equals 3 times 15. 5x equals 45, which means x is 9. One last example. 2 times 35 and 7 times x. So 70 equals 7x, where x would be 10. And this can come in handy when solving some equations involving fractions, but it's not always the easiest way to do it, so it kind of depends on the situation. So our lesson 2-3b is solving multi-step equations with fractions, and we're going to use the properties of equality to solve these equations. Let's start with our first one. I have 5/18 equals n over 9 minus 1/2. Let's start by getting rid of that 1/2. To do that, I'm going to add 1/2 to both sides. But as soon as I start looking over here and seeing I want to add 1/2, I notice that I don't have a common denominator, so I'm going to get one. I'm going to use 18 for my common denominator. 2 times 9 equals 18, so 1 times 9 is 9. 9/18, same as 1/2, but we'll make my adding possible. 5/18 plus 9/18 is 14/18. Which I could simplify, but I'm just going to hold off for a minute. Then I have n divided by 9. Now to get rid of that 9, I just need to multiply both sides by 9. So this becomes a 1, and this becomes a 2. So my answer is 14/2, which I could simplify to 7/1, or 7. That's what n is. Again, I highly recommend you check these answers. I'm not going to in my video, just for the sake of time. And I forgot to clear my screen again. Okay, next example. You'll notice in this one, I have some like terms I could possibly combine. Unfortunately, I don't have common denominators, so I have to get common denominators before I can add or subtract my numerators. I'm going to use 12 for my denominator. What did I multiply 4 by to get to 12? 3. 3 times 3, 9x. Should have said 3 times 3x. How did I get from 3 to 12? Multiply by 4. 4 times x is 4x. Now I have 9x minus 4x, and that gives me 5/12x. Here's 5x/12, I should say, equals 10. Now the easiest way to get rid of the 5 and the 12 is to multiply by the reciprocal, 12/5. I could have done it in 2 steps, but why take 2 steps when you can do it in 1? Simplify my 12s, simplify my 5s, and I end up with just, oops, that's the second time I've done this today. Let me get back to where I want to be. I'm left with just x. And then I want to simplify over here before I multiply. Divide by 5, I get 1. Divide by 5, I get 2. 2 times 12 is 24. I might put the denominator of 1, so I can just leave that off. And x is 24. Next example. At least I remembered to clear the screen that time. Okay, I have 2/5 x minus 4 equals 1/2. Well, I can distribute. Should we try that? 2/5 times x is 2/5 x. 2/5 times 4 over 1 is 8/5. Now I have to add 8/5 to both sides. In order to add those, I need a common denominator. I'll use 10. 1/2 is the same as 5/10. 8/5 is the same as 16/10. So now I can add them, and I get 21 over 10. And that equals 2/5 x. To get rid of that 2/5, let's multiply by the reciprocal, 5 over 2. Simplify before you multiply. Divide by 5, divide by 5. And I end up with 21 over 4. And I can keep it just like that. Nothing wrong with that. Next example. I have 24 over 5x equals 8 over 45. Again, to get rid of this 24 over... Oh, I realize I have a 5x in the denominator. That's my problem. Let's try cross products on this one. 8 times 5x gives me 40x. 24 times 45 gives me 1080. Yes, I used a calculator. I didn't know that off the top of my head. So now we can say divide by 40. Divide by 40. Now the big question, oops, that's a 400. I don't want that. The big question is, what can I simplify 1080 and 40 with? You might immediately think of 2, but I want to think bigger numbers because these are pretty big. I'm going to start with 20. If I divide 40 by 20, I get 2. If I divide 1080 by 20, well, 20 goes into 105 times and into 84 times. So I get 54 over 2. Well, now I can see 2 goes into both of those, and I can just divide. 54 divided by 2, and I get x is equal to 27. That was fun. Let's try another one. And again, I forget to clear my screen. Okay, let's try this one 2 ways. First, let's try to use cross products. 7 times 4 is 28. And then I have 2 times 3c plus 8. I'm going to write that out so we don't accidentally miss some parts of that. 3c plus 8. I'm going to feed the birds, or distribute as we call it. 2 times 3c is 6c plus 2 times 8 is 16. That equals 28. Subtract 16 from both sides. And I get 6x equals 12. There are quite a few steps here, but nothing has been terrible so far. Divide 6, divide 6, and I get x equals 2. Now let's try it the other way. See which way you like better. Oops. I'm going to go backwards, sorry. I was going to try it this way by getting rid of the fractions. Let me clear the mouse. See if we come up with 2 also. Going to multiply both sides by 4. Multiply by 4. I put this one over 1. And I end up with 3c plus 8 . And over here, my 2 and my 4 will simplify. This will become a 1, and this will become a 2. So my denominator will be 1. 7 times 2 is 14. Now I can subtract 8 from both sides. And I have 3c equals 6. Divide by 3. And I get c equals 2. Same answer. Which one did you like better? Personally, I like this way better, but only because my fractions completely cleared out. If I would have had a 3 here, I would have been dealing with fractions all over the place, and then I might not have liked it as much. Okay, let's look at this one. Again, we could do this one 2 ways. I could multiply 2n, because I can draw this, or I could multiply both sides by 2n minus 3. It'd come out the same. 42 times 1 is 42. And then 6 times 2n minus 3. I'm going to feed the birds. And I have 12n minus 18. That equals 42. Next, I will add 18 to both sides. And I get 12n equals 60. Divided by 12, giving me an n equals 5. If you did want to check this, 2 times 5 is 10, minus 3 is 7, 42 divided by 7 is 6. Just show you, they do work. So that's it. Have a great day. You know where to find me.